Shy Bro Father James with Deacon Hank.
Hey.
Just finished, or I'm about to finish, Edmund Morris's biography on Thomas Edison, which came out fairly recently. Have you read it, Deacon Hank?
Do you want to take a guess? No.
Have you, which I was interested to read because I don't know much about Edison, and also because the neighborhood of Chicago that St. Juliana is located in is called
Edison Park. Got that
So
one.
I figured it might be cool to learn a little something about our neighborhood. Edmund Morris, he also wrote a trilogy on Theodore Roosevelt, which I had read some years ago, which is pretty good. The Rise of Theodore Roosevelt, Theodore Rex, and Colonel Roosevelt, I believe the third one's called. So Edison, obviously famous for many inventions. Do you know which ones, Deacon Hank?
The light bulb.
Light bulb. He's looking at the electric company Monopoly deal card utility there.
I'm also trying to think back to the Simpsons episode where
Yes,
Homer was
Homer.
trying to invent
Yeah,
all
and
these things.
No, that's a good.
No, I'm just remembering Homer's like makeup gun where he like loads up
Yeah,
makeup
it's a-
cartridges into a shotgun.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
fires it on, and then
Oh, there was the secret invention of Edison that he created the chair that leans back.
yes, if you fall,
If you fall,
there's
it catches
another
you.
leg that comes back. Right?
Sorry, back to the actual history.
Yeah, and then so Homer was envious of Edison, and then he found out that Edison was envious of Da Vinci, of all the
Right.
inventions that Da Vinci made. So it's an interesting time in American history, the end of the 19th century, early 20th century. Edison invented the phonograph, which was a sound recording instrument, reproduced sound. Yes, the electrical light bulb, the current, direct current. Alkaline batteries, other like power grids. He was big into rubber too. He was good friends with Henry Ford and Harvey Firestone. What else did he?
Was he competitors with Tesla?
Yes,
Original
so
Tesla?
yeah, Nikola Tesla and him, and then also Guglielmo Marconi. So Tesla invented alternating current, and then Marconi, Italian inventor, invented basically the radio.
Oh, wow.
So, but there's a quick little thing in Edison's biography about his faith, which kind of intrigued me a little bit. By the way, Edison, before I get into that, Edison Park of Chicago was originally called, I did a little research on the neighborhood, originally called Canfield,
Oh,
changed the name to Edison Park in 1890, and actually got approval from Thomas Edison himself to rename
cool.
the neighborhood. It was supposedly one of the first neighborhoods, or even like small villages, to have electricity.
wow.
So it wanted to stake the claim to its inventor's name. It was right also like in a watershed between the Des Plaines River and the Chicago River. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Okay.
there you go. But anyways, Edison was somewhat of a skeptic. He wasn't an atheist, but he was skeptical of the immortality of the soul, which got me thinking. He had a famous quote when he was asked, like, is the soul immortal? He basically said no, and then he says he compares the soul to the phonograph that he created, that basically copies sound and preserves it for time immemorial. And he says, yet no one thinks of claiming immortality for the cylinders or the phonograph. Then why claim it for the brain mechanism or the power that drives it? Because we don't know what this power is, shall we call it immortal? Then he goes on to say, I have not reached my conclusions through study of tradition. I have reached them through the study of hard fact. Proof. That is what I've always been after. That is what my mind requires before it can accept a theory as fact. So Edison is brilliant, but he's got theology and faith somewhat wrong here. He just thinks he's thinking more blind faith, when there is indeed proofs for God's existence, natural proofs for God's existence, but there's also other hard facts to show that our faith is actually reasonable and not completely absurd. It's not irrational our belief in God and our belief in the church and in the things that we believe as Catholics. As I'm saying this, I'm looking at Deacon Hank. He's got Thomas Aquinas' Summa out.
Oh, look at
So,
that.
what do you think? Any initial thoughts?
From Thomas himself,
Or
just
whatever.
off my
Yeah,
brain?
off of Edison's thought of, how faith, he
Yeah,
needs proof
absolutely.
and...
So Thomas Edison, he's not coming out of left field with these thoughts in his time period as an inventor and science really kind of kicking off. It's kind of a new era for science itself, new discovery of it. He's coming from a field of, I would say, other deists, and with deism, it was God is seen as just a clockmaker. He makes the world, puts the universe inside, and then just steps away and has no involvement in it. And also the understanding of the person is from, as Edison's quote describes, is just kind of robotic. There's no sense of soul-body unity and with a deeper anthropology than that. And also in that time period, there would be a lack of kind of widespread Catholic understanding of God, revelation, and proofs. I would guess that he's coming from the Reformation tradition to whatever
the Enlightenment.
Enlightenment and everything. So they just took everything as a reduction of morals, simple, the Bible, with no real in-depth tradition that like the Catholic Church has put out.
Interestingly, we mentioned Marconi earlier, who was the inventor of mobile devices. Basically, he was a Catholic, and he actually was a strong believer. He said, Marconi, again, around the same time, I believe with pride that I am a believer. I believe in the power of prayer. I believe in it not only as believing Catholic, but as a scientist. So here's a man who's a man of empirical data and evidence who believed. And I think if you look not just in the logic of our faith and the deposit of faith in theology, and that's what Aquinas can provide for us. You just look out at nature, and you look out at the human condition, and you can tell, all right, there's some, not just more than just a creator, but a God, a personal God who loves us.
Yeah, so with Thomas, another great Thomas in history, Thomas Aquinas, he puts forward 5
That was pretty
proofs.
good. Did you think about that?
A little bit. I think it was another reference from a podcast. But he puts together 5 proofs of God's existence. And they're not to say hard, fast, evidence of it, but logical ways of understanding God's existence and even the necessity for God's existence. To go back into Edison's realm of science and scientific theory, we can look at astrophysicists and their realm of understanding space and time, and with quantum mechanics, all these areas of understanding science, the way the universe is constructed in ellipses and space and time, how to measure things in contrast to the speed of light that was... I'm blanking on his name. E equals mc squared.
Albert Einstein.
Thank you, Einstein himself. So in these physicists, they're trying to unpack what's underneath at the very microscopic level of a lot of these spatial phenomena. And what they find a lot is that things start to break down. Their language starts to break down, where time and space as they normally would use it doesn't seem to hold up all the time in math. And same in smaller and smaller particles too. Not everything is measurable or as determined as they thought the math was showing. So what does that show? At some point things break down, so you need you need God as the eternal cause and mover of things, so things can exist on their own.
Basically. You need God. Okay,
God.
Sorry. Got it. Let me end with a couple more quotes here. Okay, so on his desk, Thomas Edison had a quote from Sir Joshua Reynolds that said, "There is no expedient to which a man will not resort to avoid the real labor of thinking." So, the faith involves a labor of thinking. Okay, so Edison should have applied that quote not just to science, but also to the faith. But also then, Flannery O'Connor has another great quote. She says, "What people don't realize is how much religion costs. They think that faith is a big electric blanket, when of course it is the cross. It is much harder to believe than not to believe." End quote. Flannery O'Connor right there. So anyways, folks especially who live in Edison Park, ask for faith, practice your faith, and listen to music and the light bulb and other electronic devices. God bless.
Peace.